Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Today we have a special guest, Stacy Wellborn, and she's going to talk about goal setting, how we can improve them, make them better, and maintain them. You know, everybody says we need goals, but why should you? And how do you even get started? She's going to let us know some of the best systems to use and any other advice she's got, we most appreciate. I'm Karen. I'm a CPA, entrepreneur with big ideas, and I'm the mom.
I'm Katie. I'm a payroll specialist, business owner, and detail-oriented person that makes things happen, and I'm the daughter. Welcome to Cheers to Business. Welcome to the show, Stacy, and coming to the studio, which, I mean, it's kind of your studio since you're married to Johnny, our producer.
Yeah, so I hang out here a little bit.
What's his is yours, what yours is his.
That's right. I've been lucky enough to work with him a little bit here at Deep Fried Studios, which is part of Container Yard. So we work together on those two projects.
I hear you're a host of a podcast.
I am. I'm a big fan of your guys' podcast. And myself, I do a podcast with Dr. Ron Swain called the Swain Sinus Show.
It's really informative. I get a lot out of it.
Good. Thank you. Listen to it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun to talk about snot.
How do you find your questions?
You know what? I just a side note, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I love hosting that podcast because I get to ask a doctor all the things I've always wanted to know. Like, does it really matter if your snot's green? You know? He indulges me.
Well, my husband listened to one of them. Yeah. And so then he had to tell me that night everything about he had learned about. He was so excited about doing something up his nose. I don't know, but it was fantastic.
The nasal rinses, which I will not do.
Now, tell them what the Container Yard is, too.
So Container Yard is a co-working space. We have over 50 people that work here. It's membership-based. It's kind of like a gym for the office. So you can come once a week or every day and start a business, grow a business, have business meetings.
It's got to be nice to be able to talk something out with other people or get feedback from them.
It really is. It's great to see the conversations between disparate businesses. We had a brew pub here for a while. We've had a bookstore that started here and has opened, and magazines, ad agencies, nonprofits, graphic designers, furniture salespeople, insurance people. We've just got all kinds of different businesses, and so they learn from each other and thrive off each other.
Yeah, because the foundation of business is the same. I mean, basically, when you break it all down, they do different things, different ways, but the overall foundation, that was the word I was going for, is basically the same.
Mm-hmm. And it's allowed a lot of folks that work from home or work remotely to have that office environment, sort of that water cooler chat.
Right.
You know, they can come and get that too.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
But we're here to talk about goals.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
I get carried away. I'm sorry.
I'm so excited to talk about these goals.
Well, and goals are a big part of why we're sitting here today. I mean, Johnny and I have been business owners for 10, 15, 20 years. And one of the goals that we set was we needed to create a studio, and then we needed a place to work. And really from that came Container Yard, and said, well, if we need a place to work, there's other people who need a place to work who don't want to sign big leases and deal with all of that. And so it came together as part of a goal setting session to say, we've got to find a place for us to work. So let's create a business where we can bring other creative people together.
I love that.
It's really interesting how kind of goals can morph into other things. You may start out with one goal, but after working on it with time, it can kind of turn into something else.
Everything evolves.
I love lists. I think I suck at goal setting, to be like perfectly frank.
I don't know that that's true. I don't believe you.
I don't believe her either.
In all that you've accomplished, look, I'm a fan of the show. I've listened to several episodes, and I'm not surprised that you like goal setting and that you're the list maker, because you're the taskmaster, aren't you?
I am.
The integrator.
It's just, you get so caught up in just going and going that it's hard sometimes to be like, okay, well, where do I want to be, a year from now?
But you do it in your business. You want to have this many clients by this time, or don't you?
I mean, like, as I'm walking somewhere, it's not really like a focus.
You mean when you're talking to me?
Well,
yeah.
At some point, you made a decision that you wanted to be a business owner.
I did.
And I'm sure from that point until opening the business, I mean, that was a goal that you set, and you did it.
I guess what I imagine, like, people sitting down to goal set.
With a chart?
Like, as a verb. Yeah, like, I'm here to goal set. And it's just, I feel like I've never done that.
Okay. Well, I would love to offer some suggestions.
Tell a little bit about yourself and why you know so much about this area. Because you're working on your doctorate, right?
I am.
I think that's so impressive.
Well,
It
thanks.
is, for sure.
I will never sit my butt back in the school chair again.
I will tell you that has been a goal of mine for probably 20 years. So
That's amazing.
as it comes as goals, I've always been goal oriented. That's just how I was raised, I guess. And it probably started back when I was in middle school and my parents offered me money for grades. And I was very cash oriented.
I have a short story. Can I tell you?
Yeah. Do you do that too?
No.
With my daughter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not me.
No, I handed her a $100 bill at the ballpark Saturday.
Nice.
She made straight A's.
Holy
no,
cow.
One time I was offered money for straight A's. And I did it. And I was used to making A's, but I made straight A's, I thought. Mm-hmm. No, the science teacher in 11th grade was my dad's first cousin. I had an 89.5. She refused due to nepotism, and that's the right word, to give me.
She wouldn't round up for
She
you.
wouldn't round up for me. And it cost me the only time my father ever offered me
Wow.
money for good grades.
I didn't have to get straight A's. Mine was a ranking system. So an A was $20, a B was $10.
Ooh, I like that.
So,
I like it.
Which was kind of good because it didn't make me so anal retentive, I guess if I can say that on the show.
Absolutely.
That I was unbearable, but I still wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I did this well, I made this much. If I did this well, I made even more. And I was a worker from 12. And I was babysitter and all that. So I was all about making my own money from the beginning. So that's probably where it comes from. I guess in college, I picked up 7 Habits of Highly Successful or Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. And there's a system called Franklin Planners, which is based on Ben Franklin, who is known for having had these amazing little notebooks that he kept all these goals and things. So I
didn't
kinda
know that.
So the Franklin Planner came from Ben Franklin and what he did. And
Electricity and all kinds of stuff.
he did amazing things. And so I guess those were the first 2 people that introduced me to systems. And then Franklin Planner and Stephen Covey merged probably 25 years ago and they became the Franklin Covey planning system.
Did not know that. I'm so impressed already.
And so I, for probably 15 years, used the Franklin Covey planning system. And it really
I
helped
need
you.
to write that down.
It's a great basic system, and really many of the systems you see today are based on those systems. And it's I can't think of all the 7 right now, but it was put first things first, prioritize. They had a systems of A's and B's and 1, 2, 3s, and so you made your to-do list. Like, do you make a to-do list?
I like
Kinda.
a good to-do list.
I like a list.
So what I learned
Well,
from
look at it. You're judging me with
okay,
your.
so
no, you're judging me with your face
I'm not.
again.
I don't mean to judge you with my face. My to-do list is like a straight line, bullet points. You know, some nice solid round dots. Karen's is just like randomly
Bar napkins.
Like if you took a splatter paintbrush,
It's not that bad.
that's what her to-do list looks like.
But my bar napkins notes are amazing.
what do you write your to-do list on? Like a notepad paper or a whiteboard,
no.
or just in your head?
Her head.
Now I got this song in your head. Don't play that.
Well, what Franklin Covey the planning system says is make the list like you do, and when you have that straight list, then go back and prioritize 1, 2, 3s or ABCs, whichever you want to do. And so you really start to look at kind of prioritizing. And so let's say you make it ABCs. But even within the A's, then you prioritize 1, 2, 3. So whether you do 1s, 2s, 3s, and you do whichever way you want to do it. I think they do letter and
I
then number.
do that. When I pick up some returns, I'll get 4 easy ones and 1 I know it's
Yeah.
going to be a hot mess.
You are good at prioritizing. I feel
do.
like I'm better at list making, but you're better at like putting stuff in the order that it needs to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a big picture person.
Yeah.
So I start moving pieces into place, and that works.
And that's, I think, bringing those 2 skill sets together, because the prioritization, I think, is a big picture. It's thinking long term, okay, I've got to do these things today, these things next week, these things in 3 months. That's prioritizing. But making the list is also important. So if you can bring those 2 things together, then it makes, I think, you more effective overall.
I'm at the end of the Audible Get a Grip. Mm-hmm. And so he talks about that, the rocks and the different things.
Yeah, and there's, like I said, there's lots of systems. I believe the Franklin Covey system is really the foundation for it. I now use Michael Hyatt is another guy you should write down.
I'm writing.
And he is a former book publisher, and very successful CEO of a publishing company, and has started his own company of leadership and life development products. And he's somebody I discovered maybe 3 years ago. Been following him, and he now has a planner, and I forget the exact name of it, free to full focus planner.
I've seen it on Facebook.
They advertise a lot on Facebook. I have it. I can show it to you.
Oh, sweet.
And it's a great system because it also encourages the prioritization. So you still keep a list, but his thing is every week, what are the 3 things you need to accomplish this week?
We do that with our office meetings. What have we done, but what do we have to take care of? And then we kind of prioritize it then.
So he says, basically on a weekly basis, and a lot of people are doing these things. They may not just have a system per se to write it down and follow it. So what are the 3 things you want to accomplish this week? And then every day, what are the 3 things I need to accomplish this day to help me accomplish those 3 big weekly goals?
I like it.
I do too.
And then you can write your other to-dos. Like it's now in the afternoon on Monday. I wrote my list this morning, and I think I've accomplished 1 of my big 3, and I've probably knocked off 3 things on my to-do list. But what it makes me do is now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll go back to my list. I'm like, oh, I got to at least get 1 more thing done on my list. And it becomes like a competition with yourself.
Now, that part I totally get and I've been knowing myself long enough and working with myself long enough that I have figured out that if I have 20 things to do, I'm going to do 18. Mm-hmm. If I have 3 things to do, I might do a half one, and then I'm going to leave early.
Amen. I'm the same way. If I don't have a long list of things, I just don't know what to do.
So how's that make me better?
That?
I don't know.
I didn't know if you had any insight of like
I need
the
pressure.
Psychology of that.
I think it's just game theory.
Pressure.
Know,
I need the pressure.
You need the pressure. I mean, I think we're in such a society now of everybody's trying to do more with less. Everybody is trying to do more with less, that we're just sort of this by nature are driven to deadlines. It's just a deadline society. And if you don't have a deadline, then you're like, oh, I'll get to that later. And just psychologically, you're like, I'll do that later and put it behind.
I think that's an important thing with the goal setting, though, because a lot of times we've been like, oh, well, we want to be at this many clients or, our revenue at this. But the backside of that, what is the deadline? Right. When do we want that many clients or when do we want to reach
that tag and that date on it?
Exactly.
Well, and that really goes back to what makes a good goal. And a good goal is one that has a timeline, a deadline or something measurable. And, there's
to push you to do it.
A frustration I run into is, okay, I wake up in the morning, I say, I need to get these 3 things completed today. Mm-hmm. And then fire after fire, and not one of those things gets done just because you're taking care of all those other things.
Don't beat yourself up. Every day is a new day. I made myself some notes coming in here, and actually one of the things I said is, review regularly, don't be afraid to change, and don't beat yourself up.
I love that. You make me feel better.
Because there's many days, and there's like last week, I'll tell you, I came in on Monday, and I had so much to do, I just couldn't even make the list. It was literally like, it's going to have to be which fire comes up first. And it's just one of those weeks. This week I had time to sit down and sort of evaluate and make the list. But gosh, there are weeks when you can't because you just know there's so many things. And you both are business owners. You're doing multiple things. You've got kids. You've got life. I mean, sometimes life just happens. And just wake up the next day.
All over you sometimes.
You know what? Just go with it. And the next day is a new day.
So is there a difference between kind of business goal setting and personal goal setting?
The foundation and the principles, I think, are still the same. I think as business owners, we tend to prioritize our business goals over our personal goals. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we're totally guilty of that.
I have no personal right now.
Just make it through April 15th.
I'll tell you one of the things that also Michael Hyatt has taught me for the last 3 or 4 years. He's got a goal setting program that he does, and it's 5 days to your best year ever is the name of the program.
Can I do it in 3?
You can do it in a day. We've done it. So I did it myself probably 3 years ago, and then I talked Johnny into doing it. And we now have a process where we go to Dauphin Island for a 5-day break between Christmas and New Year's. We do that program together. It's technically a 5-day program, but we do it. It's basically 5 modules, and each module is about 45 minutes. So you could do it in a day if you wanted to. We break that up into 2 to 3 days because it does take a lot of time to think about the year past. What did you accomplish? What went well? What didn't go so well? And then thinking about the future, what do I want to accomplish? And what do I need to drop off that list? And what do I need to add to the list? And there's repeating goals.
And there's a lot of times I've taken stuff off my mental list. Mm-hmm. That just isn't important anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do though. But for the listeners out there that are not familiar with this and, they think about where they want to be, is there a system or how do you tell people to get started?
Think about the areas of your life first and maybe make buckets. So like you said, business, personal, relationship, family, health, spiritual. Think of some of those buckets. I would say find 2 or 3 hours. I know sometimes it's hard to maybe just be by yourself and think.
Don't turn on Netflix.
Don't turn on Netflix. Turn off all the technology. Go to the spa if that's what your thing is. Go to yoga. Go to nature. Go to the beach. Whatever it is, just
that sounds wonderful.
Go spend a couple hours with yourself. I mean, how often do we take time to do that?
Not enough.
Not enough. Add wine, and it's even better.
The wine helps.
The wine helps the creativity and the thinking. But, just carve out that time for yourself to think through those buckets of life and really then within each bucket maybe come up with one thing.
You just made me feel all warm and just, I can do this.
I am ready to set some goals.
I know, right? Well, now, the warmth maybe comes from the wine, but it's just to feel good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing is you can start today. It's not like you have to wait till January 1st to set goals. You can set goals anytime.
It's like when you say, I remember when I was in college, I would be like, all right, I'm going to start studying at 3:00, and then it would be 3:02, and now I got to wait till 3:30. And that's
right. I mean, it says end of the quarter. I will say this: so Johnny and I do an annual retreat. The first of the year, we set a bunch of goals for the year, but we also weekly look at those goals through the Michael Hyatt program that I use. But then also quarterly review. So today we're 2 weeks out from the end of the quarter. So I looked over my goals for this quarter, and I went, OMG, I have not gotten even close to my goals. And I could freak out about that and feel really crappy about myself. But I thought, you know what? I got 2 weeks left. I can get some stuff done. And then I can also punt to the next quarter. I mean, it's totally fine. It's my self-imposed rules. Then I can break my own rules.
But what about when you do have a due date?
Well, that's where the prioritization comes in, right?
I couldn't agree more.
When there's certain things that have to be done, certainly those take priorities.
I've always said that life's about choices. I don't care what it is or what sucks or is great in your life. Life is about choices and the choices you make. And so the prioritizing and making the right choices, are you going to work on your taxes? Or are you going to go watch Netflix? Are you going to go do this? Are you going to go do that? And I think that's a big part of it. Putting it on paper, I bet, really holds people to the candle.
It really does. I mean, whatever you do, whether it's putting a sticky note on your mirror, your bathroom, or a reminder in your note in your phone, or you use a system like Franklin Covey or Michael Hyatt or Erin Condren's another one, whatever you use. Do you like Erin Condren?
Her stuff is so beautiful.
It's so pretty.
Who is that?
It's a planner designer. It's just really
this
pretty
chick
planners.
Loves planners. She would buy them all. I promise
Thing is, I can't use a paper planner. I use Google Calendar, but I still love a planner.
It's got to be hereditary, and you didn't get it from me because your daughter's the same way. She loves a notebook or a planner.
Yeah, my
daughter.
It's
the stickers and the markers, and it's pretty and colorful. I love all that
stuff. She'll walk around with a clipboard just checking things off.
She looks just like you.
She'll organize the candy when we're in line at Walmart. Poor thing.
Just tell her to balance it. I often tell people that I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Love it.
Because I used to be, again, so anal retentive that I would beat myself up over not making those goals or not making those deadlines. And you know what? There are certain rules you have to follow.
Right.
But most rules have some room to breathe.
I always, I kind of put it to my house doesn't just have a front door. It's got a back door and some windows and maybe a chimney if I need it.
That's right. Got
I can find a way to do it.
That's right. There are so many options out there. And the same with goal setting. I consider goals a roadmap.
I like that.
It's just a map. It's like, what's the saying? Oh, you can't get there if you don't know where you're going kind of thing.
Right.
Goals are a roadmap. So whether or not I set this really huge goal, let's just say I want to make $1 million, which is not my goal and not realistic. But if I set that goal to reach $1 million in sales and I did 500 last year, well, if I do anything between 500 and $1 million, I'm won. Right? If I shouldn't beat myself up for not hitting my $1 million goal in sales, if I did 700,000, oh my gosh, celebrate that.
Be happy for
I like
yourself.
That.
I do too.
Well, that's been part of my fear of not goal setting because, oh gosh, well, what if I don't get it? So then it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to even try at all.
But what about setting yourself up for unexpected? I mean, setting yourself up for disappointment.
Well, that's what I struggle with because they say you should set like these really like big, obnoxious, if they don't scare, all those quote things where it's over a person's person. Like if it doesn't scare you, it's not a good.
Not worth doing, and all. That's a bunch of mess.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
I mean, there's the BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals is another one people use, and there's just there's all these things, but you got to do what works for you. And to me, again, a goal's a roadmap. It helps me grow every year. Even if I don't accomplish them, I know I'm growing. But I do certainly believe in even if you make a small step, you should celebrate it.
Because we are a business podcast, you said something a minute ago, and I went, that is so deep and so wonderful. And I do think that people need to also, while they say, I want to increase my sales to $1 million, make sure that bottom line's following through.
Right.
Make that part of the goal is to, I'm taking home, I don't care if you do 20 zillion trillion dollars in sales, what are you taking home?
Right.
And so help make sure that management of that is you're taking home. So if you're going 500 to $1 million and you only get to 750, well, if you're only taking 500 home, make sure you're taking 750 home now.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of the bigger picture too.
That's smart.
For sure. Kind of wrapping this up, I love to summarize. So what are 3 things that make up a good goal?
Well, there's a lot of frameworks out there, and a lot of people have heard the term SMART goals. And I'll tell you, Michael Hyatt has smarter goals. You have to look him up. But SMART typically is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So specific, right? We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Measurable, sales, hours, pounds, revenue, whatever it is, it's got to be specific. Attainable is important to really, that's what you talked about, that, I can set $1 million sales goal, but is it realistic? Is it attainable?
Right.
And then timely, putting a time frame on it. So is it this quarter in 60 days or
it helps the pressure.
Year end? Yes.
It puts a due date on it.
Again, I'd say ultimately you want to be specific, reasonable, and have some measurableness to it. I mean, those would be if I had to pick 3. That's what I would do. Just really the specificity of it,
right,
I think is important.
Johnny should do you a T-shirt with that put on there.
Maybe I can talk him into that.
He has deep fried threads, so he can do you some hats and some
That's
T-shirts.
right.
But that was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Stacey, I think you get the honors of pronouncing our wine today.
I'm glad I'm off this.
Wow, this is interesting. Domaine Crotereau.
It's better than...
So it's a French white.
I'm going to say that it's perfect.
I bet you this is a good wine. I love French white wines.
Oh, let me.
You want to taste it?
Yeah, we need to open this up. Domaine Crotereau.
Oh, okay.
Don't rely on me, please.
So go to Donkey.
Crotereau.
Y'all.
It's Quincy.
Quincy, there you go.
Read that word.
And this wine came from Donkey Market. That's where we get all of our wine.
And that was part of our wine and cheese of the month, and it's raspberry Bellavitano. What is that?
I cannot.
There's a cheese contest. Best of class world championship cheese contest. Who knew?
So if you read on the back of this bottle of wine, it's in text you can read, and it's Crotereau.
Trotereau. They have the spelling so you can sound it out like people do on Facebook. Trotereau. I'll stick with Quincy, though.
Quincy's much easier.
However you choose to say it.
I think she's making a stop.
Just ask Donkey Market and go see Brooke, and she'll let you know how to. Just let her say it. That's all.
We love you, Brooke.
All right, we got to wrap this up. So let's throw out our cheers.
All right. Cheers to setting goals.
Cheers to accomplishing goals.
Cheers to not beating yourself up.
Amen.
Amen. Cheers. Y'all, thank you so much for listening and being here with us today. I'm Karen.
I'm Katie. Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.